If you're someone who feels speaking anxiety before you get on stage to give a talk, you're going to want to listen to this podcast. I'm Linda Ugelow, a speaking confidence and vocal coach. And in this episode, I speak with Shawn Kunkler, who is the podcast host of Realtor 180. And Shawn was invited to give a talk to a room full of realtors a couple of months after this show was recorded. There'll be about 400 people in the audience. And when I was on his podcast, he told me that he was feeling nervous about this event. And so I invited him on for some coaching. So what you're going to hear is me speaking with him about uncovering the root causes of his speaking anxiety. And we actually do some healing and clearing of that away. So if this is something that you struggle with, you may find yourself getting borrowed benefits from listening through this episode. And at the end, I also go through many mindset shifts and practices and rituals that he can do so he can get on stage and not just nail his talk, but be happy to be up there with his audience. And by the way, if you want help in uncovering the root causes of your speaking anxiety and you want to feel more comfortable speaking, whether it's on stage or on camera or in the meeting room, I'm opening the doors to the Delight in the Limelight Accelerator program that is running 3 times this year in 2025. So reach out to me at linda@lindaugelow.com and say that you're interested and we'll have a conversation. And now let's go to the episode.
So what are we going to talk about today? What are we going to work on?
So I'm working on a talk for, I don't know the hard numbers, but I would say 1 to 400 realtors. And yeah, it's going to be probably the biggest talk I've ever done. It will be the biggest talk I've ever done.
That's very exciting.
Nerve-wracking, but exciting.
Yeah, nerve-wracking. Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to show up. Like, I don't know if adrenaline is going to kick in that day. I don't know if the physiological side of it that I don't know.
What are the things that you do know about?
I do know what I'm going to, all my talking points, and I know the content. I know I'm comfortable speaking on the fly. Like, I'm fine with all of that. I have an idea of the space and the way it's going to be set up. I know the city it's going to be in, but that's about it.
Yep. So those are all good things. I mean, that you know your talking points, you know, basically what you want to say. You'll be prepared with, you know, your talk.
Yeah, as best I can, 100%.
Right. And you've been invited because people have decided that you're the best person to do this talk.
Sort of. I haven't been invited. I'm kind of pushing my way into the door.
Okay. Well, then but they still accepted it.
So far.
Yes. And the universe has said yes to you.
I love it.
How have you felt in the past when you've given a talk? Like, what makes you feel nerve-wracked? Like, have you had other experiences where you've spoken and felt uncomfortable? And tell me more about those.
Yeah, I have a few. It's usually the early onset of adrenaline. I think the worst is the quiver in the voice.
So when you have that quiver in the voice, is it something you start out with that? Does it change during your speaking?
100%. It's like once the adrenaline normalizes in like a couple minutes, then I settle in and I'm fine.
Okay.
It's just getting in, like, it's that initial push.
Okay. So it's like the initial 5 minutes or so, 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I would say.
When do you start feeling nervous? Like, are you feeling nervous just thinking about it now?
So like if the night before, for example, if I start dwelling on it, then the anxiety and adrenaline starts pumping. Same with the day of. It's like the more you focus on it, the bigger, the more real it becomes. And then it's usually like, as you know you're about to do it, your name gets called. It's like the big rush.
So you have the adrenaline rush. Do you have other symptoms? Sweaty, dry mouth, heart racing?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay. What are you afraid of? Like if you close your eyes for a minute and say, okay, if I was to ask this nervousness what it wanted to say or what was going on, what would it say?
It's funny. The very first thing that came to mind is judgment.
Okay, so thinking about judgment, let's take it as a breadcrumb back. Like, where have you felt judged in your life? Did you feel judged by anyone in your family?
Yes.
Clear.
Is that quick enough?
Okay, was it mother, father, siblings?
Father.
Father. Did you feel like there was nothing you could do that would really please him? You could never be enough?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that's what's getting triggered.
He had to be better than, which then creates a less than, if that makes sense.
So there was a sense of competition that he was in charge,
Yes.
he was right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the opposite of collaboration. And then everything and everybody else is wrong or less. That's around it.
That was the basic tenor. That's like came up in lots of different ways, I'm sure, on either occasionally or on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, it would. I feel like it manifested itself in a lot of different situations. Sometimes micro and sometimes overt. Was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, and it was very different than the participation awards we have today. It was more like you're either smart or you're dumb, and so I feel like I was always labeled as like the not enough aspect.
Did you get any encouragement?
I was gonna swear, but no. Right? F no.
I have recommendations for how to prepare yourself so that you can start off feeling the way you do after a few minutes. You can start off with the voice that you want, with the energy that you want, and to minimize the anxiety that happens when you start to dwell, starting, let's say, the night before. So we can switch that around. But before we do that, I want to, if you're open to it, I would love to do some clearing of these memories using some emotional freedom technique, which is tapping. Have you ever heard of that?
I have.
Okay. It's going to take us on a little bit of journey of where we were in those experiences and how we can look at them now. Here we go. So tapping on the side of your hand, even though my father was very judgmental.
Even though my father was very judgmental.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
Even though my father was really competitive.
Even though my father was really competitive.
And he had to be right.
And he had to be right.
Which meant everybody else was wrong.
Which meant everybody else was wrong.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
Even though I had teachers who made me feel like I wasn't good enough.
Even though I had teachers who made me feel like I wasn't good enough.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
Okay, so now we're going to start tapping on you can use one hand or the other hand or both. I'm going to just use both, but you can like change as you need. So we're going to tap here and say, my dad always had to be right.
My dad always had to be right.
He had to push his personality in front.
He had to push his personality in front.
Under the eye. There was no room for argument.
There was no room for argument.
Oh, I just want to say one more thing, Shawn. If I say something that isn't really right, I might stop and ask you, was that right? But if it wasn't right, just change it.
Okay.
Okay. So like I just made an assumption. He had to push his personality in front. He took up a lot of space.
He took up a lot of space.
There was no room for me to get a word in edgewise.
That's very true. There is no room for me to get a word in edgewise.
What I thought was irrelevant.
What I thought was irrelevant.
There was no space for me.
There was no space for me.
It wasn't okay for me to take up space.
It was not okay for me to take up space.
There was no space for me to take up.
There was no space for me to take up.
It was about my dad all the time.
It was about my dad all the time.
It made me feel like I wasn't important.
It made me feel like I was not important.
It made me feel like what I had to say wasn't of interest.
It made me feel like what I had to say was not of interest.
I didn't feel acknowledged.
I did not feel acknowledged.
Or respected.
Or respected.
I just felt like I was irrelevant.
I feel like I was irrelevant.
Almost like, why was I even there?
Almost like, why wasn't I even there?
If he wasn't going to pay any attention to me.
If he wasn't going to pay any attention to me.
I felt excluded.
I felt excluded.
And I felt like I was missing something.
I felt like I was missing something.
I really wanted some attention.
I really wanted some attention.
I wanted some appreciation.
I wanted some appreciation.
I wanted him to look at me and tell me how much he loved me.
I wanted him to look at me and tell me how much he loved me.
And how he thought I was smart.
And how he thought I was smart.
And how he thought I was intelligent.
And how he thought I was intelligent.
But I didn't get any of that.
I did not get any of that.
And I feel sorry for the little boy I was.
I feel sorry for the little boy that I was.
I know that I felt lonely.
I know I felt lonely.
I know I felt unseen.
I know I felt unseen.
I definitely felt unheard.
I definitely felt unheard.
And I definitely didn't feel good enough.
I definitely felt not good enough.
And that's how I felt at school too.
That's how I felt at school too.
This feeling of I wasn't good enough.
This feeling of not being good enough.
But I knew I was good enough inside.
I knew I was good enough inside.
And I know I'm good enough now.
I know I'm good enough now.
I wish somebody told me that when I was a kid, though.
I wish somebody told me that when I was a kid.
Because I really needed that encouragement.
Because I needed that encouragement.
I didn't get any encouragement.
I didn't get that encouragement.
I felt really alone.
I felt very alone.
And it's amazing that I turned out the way I did.
It's amazing I survived.
I'm really proud of myself.
I'm really proud of myself.
Because without any encouragement, I became a pretty cool dude.
Because without any encouragement, I became a pretty cool dude.
I'm really good in my profession.
I'm really good at my profession.
And I even have this really cool podcast.
And I have a really cool podcast.
I help a lot of people.
I help a lot of people.
And I've really found a way to contribute.
I found a really cool way to contribute in my world.
And I have a lot to say.
And I have a lot to say.
People really want to hear from me.
People really do want to hear from me.
Even though Dad didn't.
Even though Dad didn't.
It's too bad he didn't.
It's too bad he didn't.
It's too bad that he didn't have the capacity.
It's too bad he doesn't have the capacity.
He had his own stuff.
He's got his own stuff.
And there's nothing I can do about that.
There's not a thing I can do about it.
I would love to be able to have some compassion for him.
I would love to have compassion for him.
But the truth is, I still feel hurt.
The truth is, I still feel like that little kid.
I still feel resentment.
I still feel resentment.
What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with him?
Why couldn't he be a good parent?
Why couldn't he be a good parent?
Why couldn't he just stop talking and start listening?
Why couldn't he just listen?
Why doesn't he have the skills that I've picked up?
Why doesn't he have the skills that I have.
It's so frustrating.
It's frustrating.
I feel really proud of myself
I feel really proud of myself
that I got through my childhood
that I got through it
in spite of all the obstacles.
in spite of all the obstacles.
I want to tell younger Shawn how wonderful he was,
I want to tell younger Shawn how wonderful he was,
how wonderful younger Shawn still is,
how wonderful younger Shawn is,
and how I appreciate his perseverance.
how I appreciate his perseverance.
What else do you appreciate younger Shawn for?
Great question. Curiosity.
Or his curiosity. What else?
Inventiveness.
And his inventiveness. What else?
Adventure, sense of adventure.
His sense of adventure. What else?
Intelligence.
His intelligence. What else?
The love for his siblings.
His love for his siblings. What else?
His ability to adapt.
His ability to adapt. Any more?
No.
His kind-heartedness.
His kind-heartedness.
His sense of appreciation.
His sense of appreciation.
His sense of beauty.
His sense of beauty.
The way he encourages others.
The way that he encourages others.
He's a fun person to be around.
He's a fun person to be around.
Little Shawn had a lot going for him.
Little Shawn had a lot going for him.
And I also have a lot going for me.
And I have a lot going for me.
Because I have all those qualities.
Because I have all those qualities.
And even more.
And more.
And I feel really grateful for I feel really grateful for who I am.
I feel really grateful for who I am and what I've learned.
And I feel so grateful for the opportunities I have.
I feel so grateful for the opportunities I have in front of me.
I feel grateful that I get to talk to people about things that I'm passionate about.
I feel grateful that I get to talk to people about things that I'm passionate about.
I'm grateful that I have expertise that I can share.
I'm grateful that I have expertise that I can share.
And I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to share it.
I'm grateful that I have an amazing opportunity to share it.
I feel honored to get to be on stage.
I am honored to be here on stage.
And I just can't wait to open my mouth.
And I can't wait to start talking.
And just hear my voice.
And hear my voice.
And hear the strength of my voice.
And hear the strength of my voice.
And feel the passion in my voice.
And feel the passion in my voice.
And the excitement.
And the excitement.
And I can't wait to get on stage.
I can't wait to get on stage.
And to experience this transformation.
And to experience this transformation.
Where my voice is strong.
Where my voice is strong.
And my energy is big.
And my energy is big.
And we are just in this enormous vortex of gratitude.
And we are in this amazing vortex of gratitude.
We're all surrounded by this sense of excitement and safety.
We're surrounded by this sense of safety and security.
And appreciation.
And appreciation.
And possibilities.
And possibilities.
And I get to facilitate this.
And I facilitate this.
How cool is that?
How cool is that?
Okay, stretch your arms up. I want to give you some tactical things that I want you to do leading up to your event. So I already alluded to it in the EFT. And that is when you notice that you are dwelling, I think that was the word you used, when you're dwelling on it, what you're actually are describing is you are mentally rehearsing the worst. Mm-hmm. And so we're always mentally rehearsing stuff. And if we're going to be spending time on it, let's mentally rehearse the best. So as soon as you notice that you are starting to feel nervous, I want you to do one or two things. One is to simply take it as a message to envision what you do want, how you do want to feel. And just that, like that very brief imagination we did of seeing yourself, just speaking, like coming, like envision that first moment. You come out on stage and your voice is right there. You practice feeling that, how exactly how you want to feel, taking in their energy. What's the best that you can feel from it? Now, if you feel that sense of dwelling is bigger, then I want you to do a little journaling. I want you to say, hey, I'm noticing I'm feeling nervous. This is what I'm feeling nervous about. And just write it out. And then after you write it out, say, and I also want to remind myself of these things. I'm actually developing right now, it's close to being finished, a speaker preparation journal for the speaking gigs we do. And I have a list of prompts for getting yourself prepared and grounded and focused. And then I also have a list of prompts to debrief the experience. So I want you to do that anytime you feel like you're starting to, as you say, dwell or ruminate. All right. The other thing I want you to do is, do you do any singing? No. Okay. No problem. No
Probably should,
problem.
but no.
No problem. Now, you have a really resonant voice, Shawn. And I hear you on your podcast. You know how to speak into the microphone. You've got a microphone right in front of you now. I want you to imagine and also practice warming up your voice. And the way I suggest you do that, and you're going to do that in the morning, the day before, maybe 2 days before, the day before, and the day of. I want you to do a couple of things. Number one, I want you to just make a lot of sounds like, ah, oh, yeah, wow, wow, blah, 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 blah. And after you make a bunch of sounds, maybe just for, 30 seconds, a minute, I want you, do you have a script?
I don't have a script per se. I haven't mapped it all out, but I typically don't use a script. I just have
bullet points,
my sections, and then I know how to elaborate.
Okay. So, but I imagine that you have like a way that perhaps you're going to open. Okay. So I don't know exactly what it is, but whatever it is, if it's like, good morning, everyone, I want you to take whatever line that is. I don't think you're going to be starting this way because you're already introduced. You don't have to say your name. But whatever the line is, it's, hello, everyone. My name is Shawn, and I'm here to tell you about XYZ. So what I'm doing here is no, you're not going to speak this way when you're on stage. What I'm doing is I am activating a sense of effort and strength in my whole physical body. Because when we're speaking, we tend to forget that it's a whole body experience. And when you over exaggerate this way, you're using your torso, you're using your abdomen, you're using your arms, you're using your whole body. And I want your body to be reminded that that's the power that's within you in your voice. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a third thing, which maybe you do before you do the vocalizing, is I want you to do a physical preparation of some sort. Stretch it. You do martial arts. So I want you to just come up with a very short routine, whether it's stretching or some punches and whatever, but something that's going to engage your whole body. Blocks and punches, kicks, whatever. Just a minute or two of those, so that you feel that when you get on stage, your body is active. Your body is alert and agile, and it takes up space. So that your energy, like through your peripheral vision, you know that when you look right and you look left and you look around, your energy is radiating out in all directions. You are taking up that space. Okay, so those three things. So physical warm up, the vocal warm up, and the mental rehearsal.
Got it.
All right. And the intention is that that you start out with that same energy that you're going to have, that you used to have 3 minutes in. That you come out and you are already on the roll.
Totally makes sense.
Every time you work on this talk, I want you to come at it with a sense of gratitude, honoring, sense of honor, opportunity, what you appreciate about it. And you have a relationship to this speaking gig, and it's a positive one. It's a loving one. All right. So what are your takeaways?
I have 2 pages of notes. This is great. I see the correlation 100% between, the early programming to the current situation. It's funny. The biggest takeaway is, well, one thing is being on stage. The people there want to hear from me. Like and I never thought of it that way.
Are you excited?
I am excited.
All right. So wishing you all the best.
I appreciate that. I'll keep you posted.